For the first 20 minutes, I didn't even mark one option in the DLR section. In CAT, I got 98.88 percentile. In XAT, I got 99.75 percentile. That is the only thing. It puts a lot of pressure on yourself. If not this, what then? After looking at my response sheet, I didn't get what I wanted to get as a gem. You'll have to have a lot. So at that time, I was like, okay, CAT is done now for the next 30 days. Just dragging it for one more month doesn't take a lot from me. What is going to happen if I don't crack XAT? Or don't crack CAT. I'm doing a good job. I'm liking what I'm doing. It is not a make or break for me right now. So the system is already set in place. You can't change the system. If you are clear with why you want to do an MBA, then I think after you have not performed so well in CAT, you can bounce back. The only thing is stay consistent, stay positive, put your efforts, and I think the result will speak for your effort.
So hey, hi, hello everyone. I'm Keshav and I work as a mentor here. So today we have Vinith with us, who is one of our top performers in both CAT and XAT. So today we are going to know about his journey of how he scored very good marks in CAT and XAT also. So okay, hi Vinith.
Hello, Keshav.
So before starting the discussion, could you tell us about something that may excite our students and like just a brief intro about you?
Yeah. So I'm Vinith. I was born and brought up in Hyderabad. So I've done my schooling, graduation, and also working here all my life in Hyderabad. So for my graduation, I went to IIT Hyderabad for mechanical engineering. After my graduation, I've been working as a business analyst in a boutique consulting firm for the past 3 years. So I think working as an analyst, the natural progression would be to get an MBA and then get into consulting or product management. So for that, I was able to give CAT and XAT, and now I'm looking forward to what comes next.
So like, how much you scored in both CAT and XAT actually?
Yeah, so in CAT, I got 98.88 percentile. In XAT, I got 99.75 percentile.
First of all, great score, man. So,
Thank you.
to be really honest, a person who scored really high, like 99.7 or something in XAT, definitely would have achieved so much percentile in CAT, like 99.7 replica of the XAT score also. Like, what happened? What actually happened on the D-Day that limited before 99 for you?
So I think, in my opinion, CAT is more about your mindset on the day, on the D-Day. For me, for example, I prepared a lot for CAT. I granted a lot, but on the D-Day when I sat for the exam, for the first section, VRC went well as I thought it would become. It went well but when the DILR section started, I was not able to get my start on this or select the proper set. For the first 20 minutes, I didn't even mark one option in the DILR section. So from that time onward, the panic set in. So I was not able to maintain a clear mindset during the exam. So I think that is why in the DLR section, I was not able to perform as well I thought I would perform. After that, the negative performance in one section also affected me in the body section. So that is the whole reason, that is because why I didn't get as good as a percentile in XAT and CAT, but yeah.
So like the most unpredictable section in CAT, I think actually hampered your score. Okay, let's get into this point. So as you are a GEM, so many people have this misconception that you guys will have a very good advantage. So you guys, you yourself have like grinded for 2 years while preparing for JEE. So did that really help you while appearing for CAT and XAT or preparing for CAT and XAT?
Yeah, I too thought it would be easier for me, but when I started preparing for CAT, it turned out to be the other way around, because for JEE preparation, we do a lot, we prepare a lot, but after that, for the next 4 years, he will be in the college where the topics we study, for example, in my mechanical engineering, it is dynamics, torque, or IC engines. And there we don't give a lot of emphasis on the basics like arithmetic or algebra or DLR, which is whole another league. So I thought it'd be easier, but when I started preparing for CAT and also giving mocks, it was tougher than I expected. And also for CAT, I think it is more about consistency, the amount of time you put in day in and day out and not losing touch with the topics. I think that is more important than knowing formulae or grinding a lot.
So I want you to answer this very honestly. So do you have the idea of giving XAT before prior CAT, or did that idea got after you saw the response sheet of CAT? Like how did it went?
So I knew that there's an exam called XAT. I knew there's a college called XLRI because that is the main institute out of XAT. But I was always I always put my emphasis on CAT more than XAT. So I got having a backup option would limit me in such a way that I would not prepare a lot for CAT. So, but after looking at my response sheet, I didn't get what I wanted to get. As a gem, you'll have to have a lot higher percentile. At that point, I still remember watching the lives from Sayali ma'am and Maruti sir.
Yes.
They were talking about this too. So this is done. We can't do anything. What is done is done. So the next best thing is that for me. So at that time, I was like, okay, CAT is done now for the next 30 days. Let's not waste the effort I put in CAT, which is, it was more about, more like 7 to 8 months that the efforts I put in CAT. So just dragging it for one more month doesn't take a lot from me. So I continued with that effectiveness and also the consistency through the next 30 days. So that is why I was able to do well in that. And the other thing is, uh, while giving CAT, I thought that is the only thing for me. That is the make or break kind of a thing for me. I didn't take that mindset in that. So I kept a very calm mindset. I was not so tensed or so nervous during SAT. So I guess that is also another reason why I was able to perform to my fullest.
So you are simply saying that you should not keep all your eggs in the same
Yeah.
basket. So yeah, remember everyone, like as I want to add what Vinith said. So you have to have some backup option, because as he said, as a person who has a very high potential, he also had a bad day on CAT. So I would say you should definitely have backup options when it comes to OMETs and other MBA exams also. So you got 98 or something in CAT. So as a GEM, you would want to have a very high percentile to get into the black IIMs or very big IIMs, right? Or any other FMS or SPJM also. So you had the dream crust of getting into
Yes.
very big IIM or any other private B school through CAT. So how did that mindset shift happen to you to prepare for the 30 days? Because from CAT to Z, there is hardly about 30 to 35 days time remaining. So what did you actually do in these 35 days? And what is your mindset for preparing and getting your mind out of it?
So after getting the response sheet for the next 4 to 5 days, I was very dejected, and yes, I was like, all my 7 to 8 months of work has not resulted in what I wanted it to result. But then I went back to my basics. So the reason I want to do an MBA is to shift my career into consulting. So I thought, what's the way to get there? I know top IIMs is the easiest ways to get there, but the other way, other solution which we have is the next best thing, which is XLRI. After A, B, C, and L in IIMs, I guess XLRI is the top ranked institute in the country. So I thought, what's done is done in CAT. So what's the next best thing is that. So I didn't want to lose that option as well. So because of that and consistency, I was able to do what I've done.
So as I mentioned, like what are the actual things that you have done in this 30 to 35 days from gap between CAT and Z?
Yeah.
And what are the things that really helped you in getting that 99.7 7 percentile in Z?
So I'm a working professional, right? So after coming back to home after work, we get 2 to 3 hours max to put
Yes,
into
yes.
studying. So some of the days we won't even get those when we have meetings with the clients or anything like that. So the one thing that helped me a lot with Cracku platform is the daily targets. So
Yep.
whenever I was not able to put in as much of time I wanted to, or whenever, because throughout this journey, there will be days that you don't want to put in work or put in
Yes.
the effort which you wanted to put in. So during those days, it's better to solve 5 questions from daily target, which also adds to our motivation or the consistency which we wanted to be with. If you don't at least do the 5 questions in the daily target for each day, if you miss Monday in between, that lag carries on to the next day, and
Basically, yeah.
it gets compounded. So I think the daily targets and also the mocks, which are very close to the actual exam as well. So, and the question banks, a lot of questions in the question banks, I was not even able to complete 20 to 30% of the question bank. So it was very vast. So all of these, the culmination of these helped me a lot.
So I want to ask a very particular question. So as in CAT, as VAS is very subjective, in XAT also there is this section called decision making. It is very subjective if you ask me. So as you mentioned about mocks, what is the quality of decision making sectionals that you took from us, and how is that replicating to the actual XAT? Like, is the decision making felt up to mark for you?
Yeah, it felt up to mark. It was very close. So for example, what I've done is, I used to take XAT previous year question paper as a mock, and also the actual CAT XAT Cracku mocks. So I used to score between these two. What I used to understand what's the difference between the marks I was scoring between the replica and also the previous year question paper. So the DM section, I think it was very close to what I was scoring in the previous year's question paper, as well as what I was scoring in the Cracku mock. So that tells us how close the questions were and what's the mindset between the actual XAT question paper and also the Cracku question paper makers. Yeah.
So, very good answer. Like, what is your highest percentile in a section in XAT?
So it is verbal. I got a 99.4.
Great, great. So, let me ask you this: what is that exact tip that you have to give to aspirants out here in that exact particular section?
Coming to verbal, I guess the most important point for verbal is the consistency with which you are reading stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And the other part and the main part for me, which at least it's worked for me, is not just reading stuff, not doing passive reading, but you'll have to do active reading. For the example, the difference between those is if you're reading a newspaper, that is a passive reading because you're reading a newspaper and you're not using the knowledge which you're reading in the newspaper to answer certain questions. And coming to active reading is for example, in our Cracku platform, we have the RC sets or the other verbal sections. So that is passive reading because you're reading the passage and you're trying to answer the question. So you're actively recollecting the information and you're trying to form the patterns in the passage and then using that information to answer the questions. So passive reading helps to be consistent, but I guess active reading is where you build your muscle memory on how to identify the patterns, how to identify what the author is trying to say and answer the questions.
So, you in the prior questions, one of the questions you mentioned that there is this mindset shift on the CAT D-Day and the XAT D-Day. So, what are the exact changes? Like, could you walk us through what happened on the CAT D-Day and what different happened on the XAT D-Day?
So for CAT exam, I thought that is the end all be all. I wanted to crack CAT. I wanted to get a good enough percentile to get into the best institute in the country. So that added a lot of pressure on myself. It was not coming externally. It was an internal pressure which was building up because I set the goal for myself.
Yes.
So when I didn't feel the pressure till the last day, but when I sat for the exam, I started it building up because 1 hour before the exam, you'll have to sit in front of the computer and just question your life decisions till then. So that added a lot of pressure on myself. So, and also the DLR section being so unpredictable. For the first 20 minutes, I didn't even mark one option at all. So that is one thing. And coming to XAT, the mind shift I had was, what is going to happen if I don't crack XAT or don't crack CAT? I'm doing a good job. I'm liking what I'm doing. If I want to shift my career or achieve a different domain or a function, if it's not with the MBA right now, 2 years down the line, I could do an executive MBA, which doesn't require CAT or XAT, but it requires a lot of work experience. So I thought that is another option I had. It is not a make or break for me right now. So that is the mind shift. Because of this, when I sat for the XAT exam, I didn't feel the internal pressure which was mounting up, which I felt during the CAT exam. So being open, being clear, calm-minded during the exam, before the exam is what helped me a lot in that.
So, it is already March. So, have you done with your XLRI interview?
Yeah. I had my XLRI HR and BM interview the last week.
So, last week itself.
Yeah.
So, the memory would be still fresh if you ask me. So, could you give me any tips on how to ace the XLRI interview for our students?
Yes. So, one thing, I talked to a lot of XLRI current students who are in the campus and also a lot of alumni. One thing that is very different from the other IIMs, top IIMs and the XLRI interviews is the professors or the panelists who are taking the interview, they're really trying to estimate or understand if you're really honest about the answers to which you're given. So, for example, in my XLRI HRM interview, I mentioned the term objective truth. Just in one sentence, as a flyby term, I mentioned objective truth during the first 5 minutes of my interview. The professors caught on to that term and they really wanted to understand, do I have any idea about the term objective truth? So after that, for the next 15 to 20 minutes, they were questioning me, trying to understand, do I believe what I say? Do I understand what I say? For the next 16 minutes, the whole conversation, the whole interview was on the topic objective truth and what's my understanding, what's my moral stance or ethical stance on that topic. So I just be yourself, be honest. And if you don't know anything, just tell them, sorry, I don't know. I'll read up on that. Being honest and being yourself is the only tip I can give.
Okay, I think very informative. So before we end the interview,
Yes.
my last question would be: so you have not reached your potential percentile in CAT.
Yes.
You also accepted that, but you have reached your potential percentile in XAT.
Yes.
So there is this 5 to 10 days mourning
Yes.
period, we can say,
Yes.
very depressing period. How did you get back from it, and what is the particular advice that you want to give to the people who are preparing for CAT? And there is a possibility of uncertainty in taking this exam also. So what are the actual tips that you want to give for the future aspirants of both CAT, XAT, and any other formats also?
So, in my opinion, each and every candidate who is trying to prepare for CAT or even for that matter XAT, they'll have to understand or question themselves first, why are we trying to do this? For me, the reason was clear. I wanted to shift my domain into consulting or product management. So that is the reason I want to do an MBA, and that is the reason I'm giving CAT or XAT. So if you're clear with that, why for you, what you want to do after the MBA, I think it becomes clearer for the person who is giving CAT. If they didn't perform so well in CAT, they'll now try to understand that, okay, CAT or IM is only one path to where I want to be. And XAT is also another part where you want to, which you can use to be where you want to be. And it is not lesser than the other option, lesser than the counterparts. We can see XLRI is at par with ABCL, and I think it's better than the rest of the IM. So if you are clear with why you want to do an MBA, then I think after you have not performed so well in CAT, you can bounce back. I know it takes 4 to 5 days. I've been there. I was dejected, but then I understood I wanted to do an MBA to reach from here to here, and XAT is on also another option. XLRI is also another option. So I was able to pick myself up after that.
So okay, very informative, man. So my final question: is it wise to only think about CAT, or should they keep other formats as the backup options, or should they only focus on CAT?
I think it's better to keep backup options, because if you don't have backup options, it happened to me. I didn't have any other backup option. I thought CAT is the only thing. It puts a lot of pressure on yourself. You'll keep rethinking before even the exam start. Did I prepare enough? Did I prepare well? How it will go? So I think it's always better to have backup options to CAT, and that will give you a peace of mind even while attempting the question paper, where you don't feel like it's not this, what that. So I think it's always better to have backup options.
Okay. Final question: any particular advice for GEMs out there?
GMs, I know it is very easy for us to get dejected based on the percentile which we want to have. But last month I was listening to a podcast between Maruti sir and the other two aspirants who were trying to get into IMA. So there sir was talking about the system is set in place. You can't change the system. The only way you can get ahead is to play the system, or to do as well as you can. So the system is already set in place. So you will have to score well to get into the colleges that you want to get into. There's no way, there's no value that you get by cribbing or complaining about whatever reasons the system is like that. So the only thing is stay consistent, stay positive, put your efforts, and I think the result will speak for your effort.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that is how we found all the insights from XAT and CAT topper. Thank you.